Feminine males and unconscious pain anchoring. I promise that will make sense in a minute. So remember I did a video on Miley Cyrus, how she's a double masculine female, but she was branded her whole life as kind of a double feminine female. And just how hard that is if you get branded as one thing, but you're actually another. This will be like in your normal life, like say you're one type of person, but everybody sees you as another type of person. So it's a real issue that a lot of people got to deal with. So Hugh Jackman, like we all kind of see him as Wolverine. It's hard to not see him as Wolverine because that movie role is so impactful. So we anchor that kind of emotion to Hugh Jackman whenever we see him. But in reality, Hugh is not this masculine, ISTP-like, very dark, very mumbly, introverted character. In reality, he's very extroverted. He is a similar type to Ryan here, where he is F-E-S-E, sleep last, and he is F-E-N-E, blast last. So they're pretty close, which makes sense why they kind of have this little funny feud that they do where they play with each other. They're both play F-E guys, you know? Now Hugh, in real life, with his feminine F-E, is a large part of what kind of identifies him as a person. Like, Hugh's first function is feminine F-E, double activated. So he's a very feminine guy. Now, technically, he's on the masculine side with the masculine sensory. Here's his official type. Oh my God, it's official. I want an official one. So F-E, S-E, double activated, and then masculine S-E-T-I. But he is a very feminine guy, I would say. We'll see this with the audios and the double feminines. A lot of times the audios will kind of tip towards the masculine side, or they might tip towards the feminine side, you know? Hugh, I would say him in real life, he kind of tips towards the feminine side. I have some slides coming up here. Let me just kind of show you one just for, get ready, Z's. But he does a lot of different plays and stuff like that, and a lot of dancing and a lot of fun feminine stuff, you know? Something I've been realizing, I've been getting older, like as an IJ, how good it is to move houses every 7 years. Why? Just to shake things up. I get such a routine when it comes to things, right? And I'm seeing that happening with people. It's like, it's kind of a good thing that if every 7 or 10 years, you kind of shake up your friend group. Like, getting a good move or changing friend groups is kind of good, not only because of the toxicity that they're starting to build up or whatever, but like you can't grow because everyone's like, hey, stop. You're not that identity, you're this identity. You're like, oh, okay, sorry.
Full houses, fully vaccinated and masked, welcomed him with show-stopping ovations.
What better job to have in the world than to allow people to come and just put your troubles aside for a second and let's go on a little adventure.
You got trouble! Oh, we got trouble! In the city! Right here in the city! With a capital T, that 100 P, that stands for pull!
Okay, you got some time off from making movies. What do you want to go do? He's like, oh, I want to go do a tap dancing play. You're like, but I see you as this. It's something I realized in myself because it's like, I'll have massive emotional anchoring to this character. This movie in particular, the later one where it's even more dark and more masculine, F-I fuck you. And so it's like, oh, that's the real Hugh Jackman. No, that's the Hugh that I like. And so that's what I'm going to project. So if I saw Hugh in real life, I'd have the hardest time not seeing him as that, you know? Notice what he said in the clip there, a classic F-E thing of like, let's just all get away from our troubles for a minute, right? And it's like, you can't hear it, you can't see it unless you know to look for it. But the F-E at the top is like, hey, can we just all be in a good mood? Can we just all be friends? We're never going to win at these troubles. They're never ending.
Look for scars from his childhood trauma, and you'll find a chronically nice guy.
I think for me, my default was, yeah, sure.
And why do you think that was?
I know actually that was my way of finding security. What do I need to do in this situation to make everything okay? Make sure everything's fine, no one's arguing. Where does that come from? It must come from years before, family stuff. So I found a way of not really being a bother. Don't worry about me, I'll fit in, I can fit in. And that became habitual.
So the F-E fitting in. With his family situation, he had a lot going on with his family, so he was kind of forced in the role, kind of a forced alpha role. It's like where if everyone else is playing the drama and the craziness, he's kind of forced with like, okay, let me just be the community, everybody, the healer. Everybody kind of get along. And F-E is really good for that. And so he's also seeing like, I cannot be the bother, everybody else is, you know? And then do you see the typing thing? Like what I see with people, like I see most people, myself included, we all have a hard time of like, you'll anchor strongly to IJ as security or OI as security. And then when you hear somebody say, oh, the biggest problem I have is security, you're like, IJ, OI. You're like, hey, let the guy fucking finish his sentence. Security about what, right? Security about the tribe dynamic. It's like, oh, so sorry, we all have to share the same English language. Oh my fucking God. The meaning of security and for this person in this context is this way, for Hugh in this context is that way, and you, if you're trying to type somebody, you gotta be responsible of like, okay, you use an OI word there, but what do you mean by that by? Is it security in like the chaos of the house? No. He's talking about security of the vibes of the family.
I really love dance. It was great fun. So I told my dad, I said, Dad, can I get dance lessons? And my brother overheard. He's like, yeah, you sissy, like for days.
He didn't take those dance lessons until 8 years later.
And I never forget it. My brother said, I said something to you really stupid years ago. And I'm really sorry I said that because I think you belong up on that stage. I said, what? He goes, I said something really stupid about dancing. I was like, oh yeah, I do miss dancing. And I signed up for a tap dancing lesson the next day.
After Broadway shut
There
down
he
in
is.
March of 20.
There he is, tap dancing the next day. So notice that this is a classic story. If you're really studying this up stuff, you're gonna hear the same fucking story over and over again. There's nothing new. So notice even the wording of stupid, right? Because TI at the bottom, things are stupid. That's a personal word. That's hurtful. Even though the brother might not even said the word actually stupid, it's gonna be interpreted as your FE is stupid, dumb idea, right? And this is a good example of this happens to all of us. Like there's this unconscious pain that's happening down here, right? And you see the story there? Where he's like, yeah, my brother said something, and I'm just like, oh, well, that's bad. I don't want to do that. And then just forgets about it. That's something we're seeing so much more and more, and you'll see it if you look for it, of how much people will like something or not like something or be afraid of something. And when and you're like, what the hell's going on here? And like 10 years ago, there was some kind of pain, and they just can't remember. And you can even see Hugh there going, wait, what happened? And then EJ, the next day, I'm now allowed to sign up for it, right? And that's now kind of like, you got this unconscious pain. And then how are you now allowed the next day? Well, if you're an EJ, the God King, my brother, so the brother is like, playing some role in Hugh's life of like, well, I got to do what he says. I'm not allowed because of my brother. And then once my brother gives me that unlock, then there I might be able to go do it, right? I'm seeing in my own life, like when I'm looking back over the years, like, so why did I not do that for 8 years? And then I'll realize like when a lot of times I'm doing something that I finally get a breakthrough, I finally get a success, it's just from a dumb accident. I was talking to Shanny the other day, and we got these little squirrels in the backyard at our new place, right? And so it's like there's a few older ones that come around, and Shanny likes to feed them nuts and stuff. And so wintertime, help them out. And so there's a little baby one, and so we're watching the baby one. He's kind of getting a little bit older. And so he's the very different attitudes than the older ones. The baby ones, and we'll see this consistently, the baby ones are, they chirp, they bark, they yap, they chase the bigger ones around, they're confident, they play, they come up to you. They have just a totally different characteristic than the older ones. The older ones, like there's one, he's kind of like missing part of his ear, he's all like roughed up, and he definitely looks way older than the other ones, like probably about as old as you can get, the one guy, Uncle Gus or whatever Shan calls him, Uncle Sam. And so it's like, how does this... Is this little guy going to turn into that older guy? Is that older guy, was he once like this little guy? This older guy who's all fucking beat up, just hates everybody, super grumpy. Was he once this happy, yibby-skibby little kid? And what Shanny was saying is like the Winston effect. And that's what Shanny saw when Cody was 6 months old. He was just, the world is open, everything's great. And then Winston, the dog, like came up behind him and knocked him over and scared him. And he got his first big shock, his big pain. And then ever since then has been a lot more calm. Like his whole life changed at that, I don't know, 6 month or year or whatever mark it was. His whole trajectory in his life changed because Winston the dog knocked him in the back. Now, does Cody remember that? No. But it's just like, oh wait, do we all kind of start off like happy, yay, everything's great, and then just like pain, all before you're fucking 5 years old, 10 years old, 9 years old, don't even fucking realize it. You got stored knowledge, memories, perceptions, thoughts. Here's where everybody lives. Like, no, this is me. Oh, did you convince me? No, that's not. No. This is the mess we live in with talking to people. Just this shit right here. God damn it. No, my perception, my point of view. No, I didn't know me. It's like, hey, Dick, like all this. Like if you look at all this and your patterns, it makes sense why this, and you're like, no. Violent motives, immoral urges, selfish needs, irrational wishes, just all the dark stuff, painful stuff, shameful stuff down there, And just part of like going through your journey is getting down to all those past stories and bringing them up. And people talk about that all day long of like, hey, you got to get back to those stories and kind of bring them back up and resolve them, because it's kind of like, like with the Cody example, it's like, okay, so, hey, Winston hit you and then you went this way. Let's go all the way back to that, kind of talk that through, unpack that and go, okay, what are some lessons we can learn, and then kind of go back the other way, Speaking of traumatizing, I got one more clip of Hugh Jackman dancing.
So that's the key.
I'm not even thinking
not on
about
stage.
my hands now.
And the more you can get out of your head and have something to do. On stage, for me, it's about connection with that audience, connection with my other actors. It's got to be about
He's a very good teacher.
Huh?
You're a very good teacher.
Look how natural your hands have been.
Now here I am.
See?
I'm dancing rings around Hugh Jackman.
Look at her hands. Look at